Hello, and welcome to No Preparation, a brand new sports podcast where we do no preparation. Not a great intro, but I'm here. I'm your host, Ian, here with Carter.
Hello, hello.
And Emmanuel.
Hey, what's up, man?
I wanted to start with this. I think we should tell everybody the teams that we root for in the NFL, and how do you feel about your team here at the midseason point in the NFL?
Da 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 da. Go Pack, go baby. I don't know why the Packers our defense is good. I don't know if Devonta Campbell was the missing piece. I don't know if Joe Barry is actually some sort of hidden genius, but feeling pretty good, especially considering all of the injuries. So hopefully we can roll through this last part of the season and then lose in the NFC Championship game again.
With Jordan Love starting.
Oh, we have a critical thinker at quarterback who is maybe one of the greatest ever to throw the football. So, despite all the off-the-field controversies, you got to think he'll pull out some big games in the playoffs here.
Sure, he looked great in that Rust Bowl between him and Russ last week.
Are you excited to lose to the Vikings by like 30 points at some point this season and have it not matter?
Yeah, I feel like this week probably won't be that week because, like, I can't imagine us playing a shoddy game last week and then losing to the Vikings. But I'm sure Dalvin Cook will just run it down our throats one of these games, depending on what goes on with his whole situation.
Packers haven't had a bad game in a while. It's week 1. So, I mean, I guess technically you could count the last 2 weeks, but Jordan Love played, and then Rodgers was rusty.
We are the best team in the NFL against the spread, if that means anything.
Yeah. They're actually just be picking the Packers every week.
Yeah, it means something to me. I think I'm back to 500 picking Packers games.
There you go.
Well, it might be like 4-5 or something. I'm not sure.
Pick the Packers. It's the way to go. They are like 2.5-point favorites against Minnesota this week. So,
Can I throw in the towel at this point in the season?
I would assumed you would have thrown in the towel at the beginning of the season.
Kinda did. But then I had a couple good weeks, and I was like, wait, maybe I know what I'm doing.
Oh, you were talking about picking. I thought you were talking about the Jets.
Oh, no.
To be perfectly honest with you.
I'm a realistic Jets fan. Hi, my name is Emmanuel, and I am a suffering Jets fan. So pretty much, the Jets are what I expected, with a few, specific things maybe popping up out of nowhere that I did not expect. I'm sure everyone saw the Mike White game coming out. Yeah, for sure, 100%.
First round pick, Mike White.
Mike White, I should have been number 1 pick, baby.
Number 1, yeah, it's important. Not first round. Number 1.
Number 1 overall.
Listen, I appreciate his confidence. He wasn't trying to, be an idiot or anything. He was like, man, I'm confident in myself. I get it. But when you say stuff like that, Mike, please play well after that, Mike.
You gotta make it.
It's pretty much what I expected. I think what happens a lot when you root for a bad team, what happens in the fan base is you kind of look for signs of hope anywhere. And then some people take those signs of hope and have these unrealistic expectations of, oh my God, the Jets are going to play for the division this year just because they had a good draft and because people were liking their offseason. No, you idiots. We all knew the Jets were going to be bad. We all knew this. But I don't understand. What is this talk of, oh my God, the coaching staff's so bad. They're all idiots. Have you seen our roster? We have one of the worst rosters in the NFL. Of course we're going to be bad. Okay, I'm done.
It's New York. I was gonna say it's New York.
Dude,
you got to be good every year.
It's so bad, dude. It's just, it's pretty much what I expected. I said before the end of the season, our ceiling was 5 or 6 wins. We're gonna end up with 4, and we're gonna get pick number 4, or number 5 in the draft, and do this all over again next year.
There are worse things.
How do you feel about Salah so far, though?
It's kind of hard. You can't make excuses for the defense. The defense has literally been the worst defense in the league all season.
I have something to say about that statement, but
I'll
talk about it later.
Well, statistically, you get what I'm saying. and the guy's supposed to be, a defensive coordinator, and he's supposed to, get them to play better and stuff. But honestly, go look at our defensive roster, and you'll see that. I mean, there's a good reason why we are the worst defense in the league. Our entire secondary, except for like the two guys who are injured right now, are players who were drafted in like the 5th round or later, and are pretty young. We have the youngest roster in the NFL. I think Salah's doing okay, and he's kind of handling the media as best as he can. I thought he handled the whole Rex Ryan nonsense this week fine.
Oh, jeez, yeah.
That was a disaster.
What was that? I didn't even see it.
Where did that even come from?
Well, so what happens is that Rex has, he's on a lot of New York radio shows and stuff, and ever since Saleh was like in contention for the job, he was being compared to Rex because Rex, back in the day was this emotional guy who would say, really loud things and show emotions, and he was a defensive coordinator, so people would compare the Saleh hiring to him. So Rex, thinking he's God's greatest gift to mankind, was on the radio this week or something like that, and he basically said, "Don't you dare compare me to this guy. I had good defenses. Look at what this guy's doing with the worst defense in the NFL." And it was just like, Rex, bro, like, have you seen our roster, bro? Like, go look at our roster, and then go look at the roster of the teams you had. You had stars on the defense, my guy. Like, what are you doing, Rex? Like, Rex, just mind your own business, Rex. Like, come on, bro.
You don't think C.J. Mosley is a star?
Yeah, he's better. He's okay. So they had Saleh on. Saleh does like a weekly radio show or whatever on one of the local stations, and basically they asked him about it, and Saleh was like, yeah, I know. I didn't understand why he took it so personally, and if he wants to take it that personally, he knows where to find me. But I'm not surprised that Rex is out there saying something, because Rex always has something to say.
He's an egomaniac. That's why he took it so personally.
Pretty much.
Well, I haven't seen as many, I feel like when he was with the 49ers, you'd always see clips of him, like, freaking out and stuff, and maybe there just hasn't been a lot to get amped about, but I feel like he doesn't have the same energy, unless they're just not showing it because he's...
It's a combination of the season, having a rough year, not having a ton to do that for, and then also I think he, like, in the off season, I don't remember the exact quote, but he said something like, as the head coach, I'm gonna try to like keep my emotions under control and stuff in check and whatnot better than what I've done in the past. So
the only thing that's weirded me out about the Jets is that it looked like LaFleur started calling good plays after Wilson got hurt.
Oh yeah, I was so upset about that.
It looked like he was like they weren't calling like complicated. I don't know if Wilson can't like he's not smart enough to comprehend them yet or something. But then Mike White comes in, they're running like good plays finally, and it's like, what are we doing here?
I said it the first week. I was like, dude, Mike, what in the world is this play calling? Where has this play calling been all season? Why are you calling these plays now? The man was calling double passes, flea flickers, and New York specials over here with Mike White as his quarterback.
Like they have good. I feel like they have good skill players on offense. I think Carter and Johnson are pretty good. I think Corey Davis and Elijah Moore appear to be pretty good. So I don't know. Like I think all you need for this season to be a success is to have like a couple games the second half of the season where Wilson looks good, throws a couple touchdowns. Like we looked against Tennessee like that level for a couple games, and then I think you can be like, okay, we went 5-12, and our quarterback appears to be good. He's going to get better, and then you can just draft a defensive player, and there you go.
What position is the biggest need for the Jets in the offseason?
Probably in the secondary. Anybody in the secondary. Like
Marcus May, baby.
Oh God, don't even. Our entire secondary just is a mess. It's a bunch of 5th and 6th round pick young kids who, are trying their best, but there's a reason they were 5th and 6th round picks.
I think that's a good time, because we're talking about the secondary, to talk about my NFL football team, the Baltimore Ravens, who I opened by asking you guys how you felt about your team, and I think Carter feels pretty good about the number 1 seed Packers, and Emmanuel, you feel about as well as you could probably you feel like the Jets are the Jets.
Pretty much.
If we had recorded this podcast last week, I would have been like, don't feel great, but I feel pretty good. Feel pretty good about my football team. A week later, I don't know. I don't have an answer to this question that I posed. Like they could easily be like 3-6, or they played 9 games because they're 6-3. They could easily be 3-6. They could be 5-4. They could be 8-1 probably. The only game they've like gotten killed in was the Bengals game. Like, I don't know, man. But they need to fire Greg Roman. I'm gonna say we're 10 minutes into this podcast. I'm gonna say that they need to fire Greg Roman, if not now, at the end of the season.
Episode 1, and we're calling for people's jobs.
He has his. It's the same thing that happened with Kaepernick and the 49ers, where they have the one season where they're like, oh, we're running the ball and we're running with the quarterback, and then people figure out how to stop it, and then he's like, I don't have passing concepts in my offense. I don't know how to run wide receiver passing concepts in my offense. Like, I've never seen an NFL offense in a real game lose to engage 8, to a team just running engage 8 30 times at them and them going, oh, I don't know. How do you stop a blitz? I don't know how to stop a blitz.
That was definitely incredible stuff.
It goes against the ethos of this podcast, but seen some tweets earlier, and apparently they weren't just blitzing like 8 every play. Apparently they are running like read blitzes and some zone blitzes and stuff. So it was a little more complicated.
Much pressure, though.
It just felt like, I don't remember the guy's name, but the safety number 8 on the Dolphins, it just felt like he was free to the quarterback every time. They'd blitz him, and he was just free. I think he's a rookie.
Yeah, I think it's Holland.
He was just free at Lamar every time. I like the fact that they didn't run a single running back screen. Like, I know clearly Greg's plan was like, we're gonna run a bunch of bubble screens and we're gonna get Marquise Brown and Bateman the ball in space and they're gonna break tackles and it'll be great. And it didn't work. And that's fine. You had a plan and it didn't work. And then they just kept doing it. And then in the fourth quarter, after Sammy Watkins had fumbled, and then after they had given up, like they were down by 2 scores, then he started doing we'll just run like 8-yard outs. And they went right down the field and scored a touchdown. Like,
the game is pretty much over at that point.
So it was a classic. It was like a classic Flacco Ravens game where the offense finally comes to life, and then the defense needs to get a stop to maybe win the game, and they don't.
New York Jet quarterback Joe Flacco.
Yeah, he played. He played this week. Just the issue is that the defense is not good, too. That's why I don't feel like the offense is weird, and they're somehow ranked second in the NFL on overall total offense. I don't know how that is happening.
Lamar just being Superman some games.
Because every fourth quarter they put up like 19 points. But the defense is legitimately not good. I mean, they're like okay against the run, but they just like I don't think I've ever seen a Ravens defense bust as much as this defense does. They happened twice on Thursday. That's why they lost the game. Because they gave up 2 like 60-yard passes because nobody covered anybody. It happened against the Vikings where Justin Jefferson had a wide open touchdown. It happened multiple times against Jamar Chase. Like I'm trying to figure out if Marlon is like overrated or just because he's the only good defensive back they have on the entire roster. And you just it's just not his fault that he's running after guys in the secondary.
Definitely not Marlon's best year. Do you think that they're going to be able to, offensively, do you think they're going to be able to figure something out, or is the defenses they're going to face just going to keep blitzing the hell out of Lamar for the rest of the season?
As a fan of the team, I'd like to think they can figure something out. As someone that doesn't think Greg Roman is a great offensive coordinator, I feel like at the moment, which is probably there are worse things than making the playoffs and losing. I feel like they're going to make the playoffs and then just basically play like they did against the Dolphins. Like they're gonna make the playoffs, and they're gonna play a team like the Bills or something that's just gonna bring these defensive back blitzes, and they're not gonna be able to block it, and that'll be that. Even last year, like they played terribly in that game, and the defense kept them in it, and then Lamar threw the pick six. So I don't know, if they make the divisional round, I'd probably be pretty content with the season. If they make the AFC Championship game somehow, then I think it's a successful season, given the fact that they lost 3 running backs, and they just cut Le'Veon Bell. I don't know if you guys saw it. They cut Le'Veon Bell earlier today.
I did see that, yeah.
So that experiment is over. Maybe they'll play Tyson now.
I'm guessing someone else.
I wonder. Yeah, Do you know why they cut him, or?
I mean, he hasn't been effective. Like, he scored that touchdown against the Vikings, and he looked okay against the Vikings, but I just imagine he just none of those guys were effective. Like, Freeman's looked the best of the 3, and even he looked pretty bad against Miami. Like, he had chances where a younger running back or a better running back breaks runs and gets away from defenders, and he just did the most damning one for me was 3rd and 3 at midfield, and they ran a pitch, an option play, and the end crashed down. He played Lamar, and Lamar pitches it to Freeman, and the end had enough time to turn around, chase after Freeman, and tackle him before he got the first down.
Yeah, that's not what you like to see.
That just can't happen.
I think at this point in their careers, Tyson is clearly the best runner, but they're more worried about his stuff in other areas like pass protection and all that stuff, and that's why he doesn't play as much.
I would assume but the issue is that when the line is healthy, like last year, 2019, if someone had gotten hurt, they would have been able to probably run the ball still because the line was healthy, and also in 2019 they had Marshall Yanda. But the issue is the line isn't healthy, and the running back. So when you have a bad line or a mediocre line, you need a better running back to be able to break plays. And the line is good enough. There was another play against Miami where there was a little bit of a little daylight that I think if it's Dobbins, he hits that hole and he's through before it closes, and Freeman hits that hole and it just collapses on him. And I don't know. I'll know more depending on how. I think it honestly at this point depends on how the Browns and the Steelers look down the stretch. If they look like they did this week, then maybe the Ravens can just go 10-7 and win the division.
I was just gonna say, if they keep looking how they look this week, you're feeling good.
Everybody looked bad this week.
That division is wild because I feel like every team has won a good game and lost a bad game somehow. It just feels like it's a coin flip with all 4 of those teams every week.
Yeah, the issue is that every time those teams play each other in the division, it just makes no sense. Because the Steelers could be 0-10, and they'd play a game where they almost beat the Ravens, or they beat the Ravens.
The Ravens, probably the best thing going for the Ravens is out of all 4 of those teams, Lamar is probably the guy you would give the most credit to just take over a game by himself. So
yeah, he's the best quarterback in the division right now, I think. I'd say it's him, then Burrow, then Baker, then the remains of Ben Roethlisberger.
The remains. Yeah. Did you guys watch that game where he just threw a ball deep and it kind of just it fluttered into the middle of the field?
Underthrow.
It was amazing. That's when it's just Ben is. Oh God, Ben, how old are you now?
He's seen better days.
He just I hope he keeps coming back. To be quite honest with you,
As a Ravens fan,
I
you
hope
hope that.
I hope he keeps coming back.
The Steelers fans are probably like, "Oh God, save us."
This is so it gets so nice after because I mean he's haunted the Ravens for his entire career. So it's nice seeing him play poorly after having to watch him like shrug 5 dudes off on 3rd and 20 and then complete a 40-yard pass to Antonio Brown. I enjoy him one hopping passes on screens and stuff. It's very nice.
He looks great running the ball now.
Okay, while we're talking about the AFC, who's good? Who's good in the AFC?
Tough question.
The Titans?
I mean, I think the wins the Titans have, you have to say they're the best team. Like their last 4 out of their last 5 games have been against playoff teams from last year or something like that.
Yeah, they also lost to the Jets.
Yeah, they didn't have wide receivers in that game though, so I mean, I'll
true.
cut them a little slack for that one.
Usually, sure, those are the New York Jets.
The question that you have to ask, I think the Titans are the best team in the conference right now. I think that you have to say that. But like, are the Bills that good? Are the Chiefs that good? Those are 2 of their Titans' big wins. Are the Rams that good? Another big win.
I think they are good. And I mean, you can say that about like every team in the AFC right now. So I think having wins over Kansas City and Buffalo is pretty much the best wins you can have in the AFC. So we'll see down the stretch, I guess. But I think I think Kansas City might be coming back too.
Yeah, after that game against the Raiders, I'm a little concerned. I mean, granted, you could say, because I know you were saying this the other day, it's like it's time for the Raiders yearly, oh, we're not actually good, see you guys later sort of stretch.
It's every year. It's every year, dude.
It must be a struggle being a Vegas fan, for sure.
I think by the end of it, like, I like the Bills' defense the most. I don't know how much defense is going to play a role in all this because we're in an era where, like, oh, yeah, offense beats everything and whatnot. But I want to say by the end of the year, the Bills might be the best team.
Yeah, I agree with you. And then I'm like, well, what about that? It's like every team has that game because I'm like, oh, I think the Bills are the best team. And then I look at that Titans game, they looked terrible. But then I guess they should have won. If Josh Allen knew how to quarterback sneak correctly, they would have won. So I don't know.
Slipped. Yeah, he slipped. He went to the left instead of going down the middle.
Forward. Just go
forward.
forward.
Jaguars as well.
Oh, that Jaguars game was a disaster. I think we just throw that one out. That game was an absolute disaster.
And then they came back and looked great against the Jets. So I'm hoping that's what I'm hoping for the Ravens is they'll come back this week against Chicago and look good.
The teams tend to, recover against us. That's a thing, you know.
But yeah, that Bills defense. I'm just looking at. I pulled up the AFC standings, and the Bills by far have the fewest points allowed in the AFC. Like it's them, and then the Patriots, and the Patriots are like 40 more. Have given up 40 more points than the Bills.
I mean, their point differential is just sky high compared to everyone. I think
it's 145. It's plus 145.
Those charts of the point differentials.
The only game where they even remotely looked bad was that Titans game, and that was mainly because Derrick Henry makes everyone look bad.
Yeah, well,
R.I.P. the king.
The question there is if he comes back, like if they keep winning without him, that's the confusing thing to me.
Supposedly, it's for the playoffs if he does come back. So their schedule is really easy the rest of the way too.
I really did not think that the Titans would be good this year after losing Arthur Smith. I thought that was the magic. I thought that was the offensive magic. And I guess, granted, they've looked good mostly with Derrick Henry, but like that's been the biggest surprise I think for me this season, at least in the AFC. That they're good.
Yeah, they've had so many injuries too. They're one of these teams who have like 20 dudes on the injury report.
I don't know if the Broncos are necessarily good, but I thought they would just kind of be bad. But I mean, I guess with Teddy and a decent defense, you can get away with winning every other game. But in that division, I assume they would just be up to nothing, and yet here they are 5-5, still with a shot.
I feel like they're gonna go like, I guess you can't go 9-7 anymore. Maybe like 9-8, something like that, and then just miss the playoffs because I feel like you're gonna need to win 10 games to make the playoffs in the AFC this season, minimum, then, maybe 11.
And then Vic Fangio will get fired, and they'll hire an offensive coordinator.
God, and then they'll trade for Aaron Rodgers, and there you go.
And they're like, "Oh look, Vic was the problem." No, you traded for Aaron Rodgers.
I mean, Vic is clearly good at coaching defense.
Yeah.
I don't even know who their offense. I'm gonna look that up. Give me a second. Who is the Denver Broncos offensive coordinator? Because I don't know. It is. Oh, it's Pat Shurmur.
Yeah. I remember seeing, because he was on the COVID list recently. That's why I remembered.
Offensive coordinator Pat Shurmur has many issues as a coach in the NFL, from not using players to their strengths to play call timing to predictable personnel formations. Thank you, Sports Illustrated. Well, that explains a lot there.
You think Sports Illustrated could get us a sponsorship here?
Yes. Audible.com. Okay, so we'll move to the NFC in a second, but I'm going to give you the current playoff picture in the AFC, and I want you guys to tell me if you think all of those teams are going to stick or who's going to drop out and who's going to replace them. You can tell me seeding too if you want, if we want to spice it up. So right now, if the playoffs started today, my favorite phrase, your 1 seed is the Tennessee Titans, which we kind of just talked about that. And then it's the Bills, the Ravens, and the Chiefs. And then your wild card teams are the Steelers, the Patriots, and the Chargers. There are 5 teams in the hunt. It's the Raiders, the Bengals, the Colts, the Browns, and the Broncos. So what do we think? What do we think that's going to look like at the end of the season?
I think the thing that jumps out to me out of that group is the Steelers probably not being there at the end, which history begs to differ, I guess.
I was going to say, tell me your team doesn't play in the AFC North without telling me your team doesn't play in the AFC North.
I feel like what I've seen from the Bengals and even the Browns has been more promising, but I mean, I guess the defense is just good enough to carry games, so...
I feel like their defense isn't even that good this year. Like, it's not as good as previous years. They're just getting by somehow. And then it sounds like Ben might miss another week because apparently he's having, like, symptoms of COVID, actually. So he might miss another week. And Mason Rudolph ain't it, boys. He just ain't.
How do they not... I mean, I'm grateful. I'm very grateful to them for doing this. But how do they not have a decent backup at this point? Ben gets hurt. Even when Ben was good, he got hurt every year.
That's a good point.
I don't know, man. It might be worth throwing Dwayne Haskins out there instead of Mason just for one game. That's all I'm saying.
Try, dude.
That's all I'm saying.
Dwayne Haskins, come on.
Like, who was their last good backup? It was Charlie Batch, right? Like,
they had
like
Doug
10
Hodges
years ago. I always forget Doug Hodges is a different person than Mason Rudolph. They're the same person in my head.
Dude, they actually went like 500 with Duck Rogers, bro.
Oh, I know.
So, Gardner Minshew's sitting on the bench in Philadelphia.
They should have traded for Joe.
Oh my God! Could you fucking imagine? No. Could you imagine if Joe Flacco was the quarterback of the Steelers?
That would not look right. That would look really wrong.
Oh my God. I think, I'm looking at it, I think those are your 4 division winners, personally. I mean, maybe the Ravens are bad and they just kind of implode, but I think the Chiefs are going to win that division somehow. The Bills, the Bills, maybe. I think we'll know more when we see if the Patriots are, like, actually rounding into, like, juggernaut form here.
Please, no. God, no.
Because I knew it was going to happen.
Yeah, well, I think it's those 4 division winners. The Patriots will be the 5, which probably means the Ravens are going to have to play the Patriots because I like dying. Then, then it gets weird because I don't think any of the rest of the teams are legitimately good. So, I could see the Raiders. Well, I mean, not. I could see the Raiders making it, but they did not look good against Kansas City. And that game was in Las Vegas. The Bengals and maybe the Colts because they get to play Jacksonville again.
Chargers and Browns are my 6 and 7.
Yeah, I guess the Chargers. I just the Chargers haven't impressed me lately.
Their run defense is atrocious, which is not good, but
it's pretty bad. It's almost as bad as ours.
I think they just have too many weapons on offense. They'll win games here down the stretch, and Justin Herbert didn't play his best game last week, so when he's playing like he usually does, they'll win games. And I think the Browns, if Baker can play half decent and not throw interceptions, that team will win games.
Dude, oh God. He so badly wanted to give the Pats the ball that entire drive.
I think that the seeding for the top 4 is going to stay the same. I put the Patriots at 5. I'll put the Chargers at 6, and I'll put the Steelers at 7. I think that's my playoffs. Maybe the Bengals at 7 if they can figure out what the hell happened after they beat the Ravens and they got killed by the Mike White and Baker Mayfield.
I think the Bengals would be a really fun team to see. As someone who's roots for an NFC team, I feel like the Bengals would be probably the most fun out of those teams to pick for a 7 seed.
As long as I don't have to play them.
I also think there's a decent chance Kansas City somehow gets the 1 seed. But I know the Titans' schedule is super easy.
They also have the head-to-head loss to Tennessee.
Yeah.
That's why I feel like Tennessee's going to get the 1 seed because they're 8-2. They're 2 games up on everybody else, and they're basically 3 games up on the Bills and the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
So unless you think the Ravens are going to win out and go 14-3, that's probably the Titans' 1 seed to lose right now.
Probably said Titans win it, yeah.
I have 2. I would say 1 more question, but I have 2 more questions. First of all, any love for the Dolphins here? 3-7, suddenly win some games. Yeah,
I said before the season they were going to be bad, and they are bad.
Suddenly, I'm definitely not talking myself into them being good. Why would I do that? There'd be no reason for me to do that.
Man, the Dolphins.
I wish I had some good news for you, but
the Dolphins gave me one of the greatest plays ever in the NFL with that Robert Hunt pass that he just mossed his own running back and was like, "This is my time, boys."
Ever.
That would have been my favorite play ever if that game was 21-6 Ravens and that happened. That would have been, oh my God, that's incredible. Wasn't really
so sad it didn't count. So sad it didn't count. I don't know what Miami's doing. That whole thing between having Tua back up and then Brissett's getting ready to walk back into the game on the sideline, and Flores just looks at him and points to him. No, you stay there. Dude, what is going on? What?
It's somehow even more confusing than the quarterback situation last year.
Dude, it's a mess.
I don't know. I still think Tua could be good, but very clearly they don't, and they want Deshaun Watson, and they're going to wait until that legal situation blows over, and then they're going to trade for Deshaun Watson. Is I guess what they're trying to do here.
And then they'll be good, unfortunately.
Future Houston Texan Tua Tagovailoa.
Their defense isn't even good this year. That was their whole thing last year, and Jalen Waddle's been good at least, so that's something for Dolphins fans.
Will Fuller's played 1 game in very Will Fuller fashion.
That was not my best. Him and Michael Thomas were not my best fantasy draft picks this year.
Well, Michael was a flyer. It just boggles my mind that there's 12 teams at or above 500 in that conference. What did I do to deserve this? Like, the difference between being the 12 seed and the 6 seed right now is literally one game. Patriots are 6-4. The Broncos are 5-5. Like, that's ridiculous.
Funny because I think everyone thought last year would be chaos because of the whole COVID thing, and this year's the actual chaos.
Everybody's just good. Like, because then you got the Bengals were bad last year. Now they're good. The Broncos are decent. Like, none of the good teams from last year have regressed. I mean, you could argue that the Bills and the Ravens and the Chiefs have all regressed, but they're still in first place. People kept clowning on. I mean, me included. They didn't beat the Lions. Like, you can clown on the Steelers for not beating the Lions. I think that tie is going to get them in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'll be honest. That's probably some of the recency bias on why I had them, not being in the playoffs, is that tie to the Lions. Even without Ben, I just feel like that's a game you got to win, especially this season where everything is chaos and all the games are so close. You have to beat the 0-7 Lions. But maybe the tie does it for them, like you said.
Like, it's still half a win. They're still, like I said, they can make the playoffs by half a game.
Look out, boys! The fighting Dan Campbells are coming.
Okay, my last AFC question before we move on to the NFC here. Two-part question. Is Taylor Lawrence good? Is Trevor Lawrence good? Jesus. And are the Texans going to be bad for like 5 years?
Oh man, I have no idea if Trevor Lawrence is good. That's a hard question to answer. What do you think, Emmanuel?
It's really hard to sort of judge because whatever's going on in Jacksonville right now is a mess. You've got Urban Meyer with nonsense off the field, and every week getting asked questions like, "Hey man, are you gonna go coach this college team or that college team?" And then you go watch their offense and you look at the depth chart and you're like, who are these guys on offense? Who are these people? Dan Arnold is your number one receiving threat? Dan Arnold? Jamal Agnew, a converted running back, is your number one receiver? What is Marvin Jones doing? Like, is Marvin Jones just old? Dude, it's just a mess. Like, that entire depth chart on offense needs help, and it's just they didn't help themselves by drafting a running back in the first round when they already had a running back. It was a disaster from the beginning. I just don't know what to do. I think this is going to be a wash year. I don't know what's going to happen with Urban Meyer. Like, I don't know he goes back to college. I don't know if Bond villain owner decides you're gone. It's a mess, dude.
It does feel like with the amount of hype he had going into the draft, there should be a little more success out of this season, even with everything. I mean, I feel like James Robinson's good, and I don't know, what their depth chart looks like, but I know like Marvin Jones. Is DJ Shark injured?
Yeah,
like,
I feel like
he's
broke his ankle or something.
Andrew Luck came in and just like instantly started winning, right? So
yeah,
I mean,
and
they went 10-6 and lost to the Baltimore Ravens in the playoffs en route to the Ravens Super Bowl victory in 2012.
And I think he's a victim of all that, right? Like his biggest issue right now is that he was hyped up as the greatest prospect since Andrew Luck. He was like the guy that, oh yeah, you have to take this guy number one over everyone else. And so you expect him to come in and at least, even with a bad, surrounding cast, to play better than this. He hasn't played good. Like, he just hasn't. Even if the cast is bad, like, you're right, he has not played well at all.
I think his biggest, grace right now is that he plays for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Imagine if he's on the Jets.
God. I mean, basically, Zach Wilson hasn't played well, and you saw how that's gone. I just think, he hasn't looked good. I'm not, it's 9 games. I'm not going to be like, oh, Trevor Lawrence is a bust. Because I mean,
sure,
Peyton Manning was terrible his rookie season. He threw 20 interceptions. but it's certainly been weird to me that like he hasn't like maybe just because Red Zone never shows the Jaguars. I just feel like every time I see the Jaguars, either the other team is scoring or James Robinson is doing something or Agnew is doing something. Like I never see like, oh, here's Trevor Lawrence rolling out and he's hitting a bomb to somebody for 50. Again, is that because their receivers are bad? I don't know.
I mean, we've seen Justin Fields do that, so.
Yeah, well, the Bears are. We'll talk about the Bears in a minute. The Bears are something else. And then as far as the Texans go, like, I don't know, man. Like, they kind of got screwed. Obviously, you have a franchise quarterback, and then you don't anymore. But like, they don't have draft picks. They don't have good players.
When Tyrod came back, I really thought they were gonna, at least play a little better, and then he did not play well. So I was unfortunate.
I think they'll win a couple more games this year by luck and go like 3 and what is it now?
14.
Oh God, that sounds terrible.
Yeah, I hate it.
But it's difficult to figure out what they're doing there because this offseason what they did was they signed a bunch of like third stringers or fourth stringers, guys who, don't really get that many snaps on other teams. So like 1 or 2 year deals, and then like they traded them for like late picks, and like a couple of them like, oh, we got a 5th for this guy and a 6th for that guy. I don't know what they're doing, but whatever they are doing is gonna take a long time.
I'm just glad we saved Randall Cobb.
And again, when the AFC has so many good teams, like somebody has to be bad. You can't have everybody be good.
Hello, New York Jets. Hello.
Yeah, well, it's actually funny because the AFC has the 11. You want to include Denver. There are 12 teams that you could say are good, but really not any teams that I would say are great at the moment. Maybe the Titans, but I don't know. I still don't know about that. But I'm also like a Titans hater, so that might be part of it. And then we go to the NFC, where I feel like there are 5, maybe 4 after the last couple weeks of Los Angeles Rams football, but there are about 5 teams that I think are like Super Bowl contenders, like true Super Bowl contenders. And then everyone else who aren't the Lions are all within like a game and a half of each other. Like the 6th seed is 5-4, the 15 seed is 3-6. Like everybody could potentially make the playoffs in that conference at this point.
Oh boy, here come the Eagles.
I hope.
They've learned how to run, and I mean, if they would have just ran the ball for the first half of the season, they might be.
I think the Eagles realized
6-4, not 4-6.
They realized maybe we shouldn't have this guy throw 25 times and put everything on him. Yeah.
Wait till Miles comes back too. Miles back, and they're running the ball.
So I'll do the same thing that we did in the AFC here. I'll read you the playoff picture, and we'll discuss what we think it'll be at the end of the season. Packers at the 1, Cardinals at the 2, Cowboys at the 3, and the Bucks at the 4. And then your wild card teams are the Rams, the Saints, and the Panthers. Then 8 through 15 are all in the hunt, as the Fox graphic would say. Vikings, 49ers, Falcons, Eagles, Washington football team, Giants, Seahawks, and the Chicago Bears.
I think that the Eagles are in and the Saints are out.
I got to support my man Trevor, but I might agree with you. I think Hurts is a good quarterback.
I don't know that he's good, but he does. I feel like he fits into what they want to do well if they actually just run the ball. And I mean, he can make plays in situations where there's nothing to be had. So that's
they kind of need to play like the 49ers played like last night. Just run the ball. Have him throw the ball maybe 15 times a game.
And Devonta is kind of a beast, so
I think things get way more interesting if the Rams actually fall off here without Robert Woods.
I don't think they're going to fall off.
Because right now, they're at 7-3, so they're still 2.5 games clear of anyone else. Of any of the teams that are out of the playoffs right now. They're technically only a game and a half clear of the Saints, but because then things get weird, because I would like to believe as a Cam Newton truther that the Panthers will be good enough, at least good enough to make the playoffs.
Their defense is incredible. So I mean, I've watched a lot of Panthers football during this first half of the season, and it was a lot of defensive stops and a lot of Sam Darnold doing absolutely nothing. So if they can improve on that with Cam Newton, and even if they're scoring they could probably score twice as much, and then that's a formula for wins, because their defense, they get the stops. So I think the Panthers legitimately could be a good team down the stretch, especially with Cam Newton.
I could see a future where they grab the 6th seed and they're going into Dallas, and we're talking about, it's finally time. Dallas is back. It's time for them to win the Super Bowl for the first time in 30 years. Like, God, how long has it been at this point? And then the Panthers hold them to 13 points, and the Panthers win 21-13. And then Mike McCarthy is sitting there staring at his watermelons, confused. Or maybe they do it to the Cardinals.
I need the Cowboys to go through, so we play the Cowboys, because that's the blessed matchup.
What are you going to do when the scenario I just explained happens to the Green Bay Packers?
Against the Panthers?
Yeah.
Oh man, I think Aaron Rodgers can outduel Cam Newton, as long as it's not in the NFC Championship game. If it's in the NFC Championship game, good luck in the Super Bowl, Cam. I believe in you.
I think my 3... God, it's so many teams I think are... It's so weird, because all the teams that are in the hunt in the AFC I think are bad. Mostly because I think most of the teams in the AFC are just bad because they've played poorly lately the last couple of weeks. Versus there's 4 or 5 teams that I think are good enough to make the playoffs here, and that's not even including Washington, a team that suddenly looked really good this week against Tampa Bay.
I don't know what the deal is with Washington. I thought their defense would. I thought they would be bad compared to last year. I thought they would have a fall off because they were just getting so much hype. But I thought the defense would still be decent.
Now Chase Young's out for the season.
Yeah.
I think I have to agree with you. I think the Saints might fall off.
I think so.
Their defense is good too, though.
Yeah, their defense is.
We've got Trevor Siemian running the offense.
Trevor! Don't count out touchdown Trevor. Trevor is a Super Bowl champion. Trevor is a Super Bowl champion. You can't say that about many of these other quarterbacks.
At what point do they go back to, hey man, maybe Taysom Hill?
I don't think you can. I don't think Taysom Hill is that good. Taysom Hill is what Colin Cowherd thinks Lamar Jackson is. That's what Taysom Hill is. He can run the ball, but he can't really throw, and he can't really play quarterback that well outside of gimmick plays. I feel like Sean Payton loves that man to death. I feel like he would have played him at quarterback already if he thought he could play quarterback traditionally.
I thought he was gonna be the guy when he came back from his concussion stuff, but evidently no.
I was hoping for the greatest timeline where they called up Phillip Rivers and they asked him to come in.
I still hope that happens.
It would have been amazing.
It would be so funny, because I'm sure Phil was incredible on the Manning cast last night, but I feel like Phil's gained 20 pounds. He's just
it's
gonna be chucking the ball up. It would be so good.
Dude, it'd be amazing for Alvin Kamara's fantasy value. They'd just dump it off to Kamara every play.
So I got distracted there. I think my wild card teams are the Rams. I wanted to say the Cardinals, but the Rams have looked bad lately. The Rams, the Panthers, and the Vikings. I want to say the Vikings. I really do.
the Vikings, I mean, you just know that the game that they're gonna need to win to get into the playoffs, they're gonna like fucking miss a field goal or something in the last second. I feel like they're just cursed right now.
Like, you got to think they regress to the mean in close games at some point. Like, that team could legitimately be like 7-3, or like, I guess they played 9 games. They could be 7-2 right now. They could be pushing the Packers for that division right now, but they've just like inexplicably lost every close game other than the Lions game, because the Lions are more cursed than the Vikings are. And then I was ready to count out the 49ers for that spot, and then they looked great last night. So
I feel like we can't take too much out of last night's game. The 49ers, they always beat the Rams, right?
And 5 in a row over McVay.
I feel like that game is going to throw people's ideas of the NFC and the NFC West off, but I feel like it's Rams are definitely good, and the 49ers are probably not so good.
What you're saying here is Odell isn't cursed.
I don't think Odell is cursed.
but
I could be wrong.
But he is washed.
Oh, God. We're at like 15 routes, Ian.
I like, this week's been really funny, because it's one of those times where I had a take, and I felt like I was at like the forefront of the take, where I was like, I don't think Odell's like that good. Like, I feel like everybody's overreacting to him like being released. Like, where's he gonna go? Like, it's like prime Randy Moss, like switching teams or something. And then so like I felt pretty good about that. And then all of a sudden this week the take has gone so far past that to like, he's ruined the team. He's ruined the Rams. I mean, he's just destroyed Matthew Stafford's entire career. Like, we're like
there for like 3 days.
I feel like I'm now in the middle of the discourse, and I'm like, what happened? It was like 1 week, and he's like, what?
He's been there for like 3 days. Come on.
I mean, he's definitely not Randy Moss, but I do think he's someone that can help a team from like a 2 wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 position, either get into the playoffs or win a playoff game. And I mean, watching Alan Lazard drop 4 passes placed perfectly into his hands yesterday definitely made me feel like, it would have been nice. But
clearly he liked LA more than Green Bay.
Yeah. Understandable, I guess.
I think they're going to struggle the second half of the season on offense, and not because Odell is there as much as I'm going to like continue to play that narrative for a bit, because I find it very funny. Like, I think Woods was really important for getting like teams off of Cooper Kupp. Like, I feel like they're just going to double Cooper Kupp now, and it's going to be like, well, Odell when he's up to speed, or like Taylor Higbee, hope you catch passes and don't fumble.
Van Jefferson is a guy too, if he also can catch the pass. But
yeah, that's the one thing I was gonna say. I like Van Jefferson, but he did not look ready yesterday. He bobbled so many passes yesterday.
The question I have is about them is, like, maybe we're overestimating how good Matthew Stafford is. Like, I feel like everyone went like, oh, he was on the Lions. Oh, he was so good. Because, I mean, he puts up stats, but like, oh, he was so good, but he's on the Lions, and he's finally not on the Lions. But like, some of those Lions teams were like pretty good. I mean, they had a good defense a couple of years. They had Calvin Johnson, and they had some games where they made the playoffs, and then they just couldn't win big games. So like, there's some. I don't think I'm ready to say that yet, but maybe at the end of the season, if the Rams kind of go out in a blaze of glory here, maybe we need to discuss Matthew Stafford's like big game gene.
I don't. I think Matthew Stafford is. I mean, I'm biased as an NFC North watcher, but I think Matthew Stafford is very good. And I mean, he didn't have a good last 2 games, but before that he's like in MVP conversations, and he's got 3,000 yards, 24 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. Like, I feel like he's pretty pretty damn good.
It just feels like his like MO though would be to throw for 5,000 yards and like 40 touchdowns, and then they're in a wild card game against the Buccaneers, and he throws 3 picks and they lose.
I could see that. I could definitely see that.
I'm actually
here's the question I'm going to ask you. Would you rather have Jared Goff?
No.
Oh, and clearly no.
Jared Goff is clearly Sean McVay is the greatest offensive coach of all time. Went to a Super Bowl with Jared Goff, made him look like an MVP candidate. Oh my God, he's so bad
that year.
Like, I didn't realize how bad Goff was until I had to root for him this week against Pittsburgh. And it was just like he was missing throws. I mean, granted, I think their Lions are going to win a game soon because Dan Campbell seems to have figured it out. They're going to run the ball, and they're going to like let Jared throw the ball 8 times a game. But he would drop back, and then there'd be like a rush. I'm not asking him to be Lamar Jackson or like Kyler Murray, but there would be a rusher. And instead of like stepping up in the pocket he would just like do a spin move, like the slowest spin move you've ever seen, and then just get sacked. Happened like 3 times.
Oh, Ben did that the other week.
Yeah, well, Ben's like 85 years old.
He still thinks he's 20.
What is a funnier NFL draft in retrospect now? The Goff Wentz 1-2 or the Jameis Mariota 1-2?
You know what? I am a Marcus Mariota truther. I love Marcus Mariota just because he threw that touchdown pass to himself in the playoffs, which is amazing. And also every time he gets a play with the Raiders, he somehow like runs for 40 yards. I feel like Jared Goff 1 is that's an oof.
I think Mariota is the best. No, I guess Goff went to a Super Bowl. So I can't say that, but like Mariota might be the best quarterback of those 4. I don't know about that, but
Carson Wentz is the best when he's not the worst.
Oh God, don't get me started on Wentz. He did it again this weekend. Did you watch the game?
It wasn't intercepted.
He passed the ball to his left hand. He's like, I'm gonna throw it with my left hand. Carson, what are you doing?
I just think that's awesome, though. Like, as someone who's not a Colts fan, like, I just want to see him try and do the most ridiculous stuff.
Why are you doing that, Carson? The play's over. Take the sack.
Man, that... if he stays healthy, they might have a chance to make the playoffs. But I feel like the Colts... sorry, not to go back to the AFC, but I feel like the Colts are going to go like 8-8, or 8-9, or 9-8. They just feel like the most, like... I don't know. They're good, and then they're not good team.
They can just feed Jonathan Taylor and have their defense actually be good and not give up 40 points to the Jets, then.
Just give it to JT, man. Dude's carrying my fantasy team. Just give it to him every time.
So we talked about the Vikings, the Niners, and the Eagles as maybe being... I feel like we kind of feel like the Vikings... Well, I feel like the Vikings or the Eagles might be a team to recover and make the playoffs. Of the bottom 4, all 5, I mean the Falcons are technically but the bottom 5 teams that aren't the Lions, which one of these, if you had to place a bet right now and be like, this team could make the playoffs between Atlanta, Washington, the Giants, the Seahawks, and the Bears, which team are you taking?
Gotta take Russ.
Do you though? After this week?
He's got a little more healing to do, and hopefully won't be in 20-degree weather. And he's got targets to work with. Chris Carson's coming back off of IR. I feel like you have to take the Hawks out of that groups of teams.
I'm gonna be selfish here and not take the Seahawks because we have their first-round pick next year. So I hope they lose every game the rest of the way. Also, I said this in the chat the other day. One of the greatest healers of our time, as Pete Carroll called him, should have taken an extra week off because he could not throw the ball. He should have tried the Carson Wentz move and throw with his left hand. I will take Washington just because at some point even with losing guys on injuries, I think the defense will improve. I don't know what that offense is with Taylor Heinicke because it looks like Fitzpatrick isn't coming back. Every week, like, the news gets worse. It's like his hip. I don't know if his hip's like 50 years old or what it is, but apparently his hip is just not recovering. I don't know what the offense can be, but I feel like in that division where everyone's bad except the Cowboys, I think they have a shot.
Heinicke supremacy.
I actually would have said the Falcons if we had recorded this last week.
Yes, before this past game.
God, they looked so bad.
I would have picked them too. Yep.
Like maybe they'll look better and they'll surprise us on Thursday against the Patriots, and then next week I'll be like, oh, the Falcons. But
please, I beg you, Arthur Smith, just beat the Pats so people can stop talking about the Pats, please.
I think I want to go with Washington as well, but I'm going to, just for the sake of all of us having different answers, I'm going to be my own Danny Dimes truther self and say the Giants.
Oh no.
I feel like that team is is better than their record.
Like is Saquon coming back or what?
He should be this week. He was going to come back 2 weeks ago, and then he got COVID, or he got put on the COVID list. Because they should be at least 4-5, because they should have beaten Washington on the game where the guy jumped off sides.
I don't know, dude.
And then they could have beaten the Chiefs. This team could be 5-4.
I don't know if the players like Joe Judge, bro.
Yeah, well, that's the issue, right? I actually really like I love Tony. I think their defense is pretty good, all things considered. You know, I don't think Daniel Jones is that bad, but you know, Joe Judge is not a good coach, so that's.
I mean, Danny Dimes was balling. He was balling early this season. They weren't losing because of him early in the year.
I also think it would be funny if the Bears made the playoffs, because then they would maybe not fire Matthew Nagy, but
the dream, Bears 7 seed.
They needed to.
Candidate Justin Fields.
Oh God.
They needed to win that rigged Steelers Monday night game to have a shot, I think.
That game was so bad. That game was so bad.
You know, granted, if the Panthers don't, take off and Minnesota keeps stumbling.
Panthers schedule look like?
Well, let's see.
They play Washington, Miami. They get a bye in week 13. My God. Atlanta, Buffalo, Tampa Bay.
Ooh, the end of the
4 games are tough.
Oh my God.
They play Tampa twice. And as concerned I am about Tampa, the way they looked the last couple of weeks, I think they'll figure it out.
They might not need to figure it out until the playoffs, so I feel like that's kind of
what they did last year, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they need to win 3 of the next 4. Actually, no, because that 4th is the Bills game. They needed to win the next 3 games.
Next 3, yeah.
Or 2 of the next 3 at least. They need to beat Washington and Atlanta. If you want to go into Miami and maybe score 1 touchdown and, throw an interception at the end of the game, by all means.
What you're saying is they're going to go in there and put up a Lamar-like performance?
Perhaps. Because that game, we're reaching the point in the season where, if you lose you need to win every game you can. But if you lose a game, you'd rather lose a cross-conference game than... Right. Particularly Washington and Atlanta are 2 teams that are chasing them for that wild card spot.
Yeah, I mean, they have to win both those games if they're going to get in. But
if Washington wins this week, suddenly, there's some real momentum there. Because they'd have the tiebreaker.
They also play all NFC East to end the season.
Yeah, I forgot how messed
that's nice.
I feel like the 17th game made the schedulers just their brains malfunction.
I mean, they play Cowboys, Eagles.
Yeah. What is that?
Have you ever seen that before?
No. That's... The only thing that's more ridiculous is the Ravens playing the Browns, and then the Browns having a bye, and then them playing the Ravens again.
That's kind of ridiculous.
Which is then... The other thing is Ravens Steelers is at 3:25 Central on December 5th. And then on December 9th, the Steelers have to play the Vikings on Thursday Night Football. Like, everybody getting screwed over here. Like, that's insane.
But these next 2 weeks are huge because, I mean, if Washington loses to Carolina, loses to Seattle, suddenly they have to play the Cowboys twice to end the season. Like, they're done.
I mean, if they lose the next 2 games, they're done. I think we're finally reaching the point in a couple weeks we can talk about whose seasons are over. Like, I think if Washington loses the next 2 games, I think they're done. If the Giants lose their next 2 games, I think they're done. Like, we'll finally be able to start, like, culling the teams out of the wild card race here, at least in the NFC. The AFC, I have no idea. How about the Lions? Do we have any thoughts on the Lions?
I just feel bad for MCDC. I have no knowledge of how good of a coach he is, but I just want him to get a win, you know?
Did you see the shot of him during the Santoso field goal attempt? I feel like he thought it wasn't going to go in. Cuz he wasn't like on his knees. He wasn't like doing the like I'm not going to look. He was just standing there with a towel around his neck, looking at it, and he watches it. And he doesn't even make like, oh my God, or like, oh, or like puts his hands on his head. He doesn't react at all. Like, the Lions have broken this poor man.
He reacted like a Lions fan.
He was like, okay, cool.
He knew, dude. He knew. He had seen the guy in practice all week. He knew.
I just don't know how. I mean, clearly, Ryan Santoso is a better kicker than I am. But I don't know how someone who cannot make a 48-yard field goal gets a job as an NFL kicker. I know they signed him off the practice squad because their kicker was hurt, but like, are there not other guys that you can sign?
Atrocious kick.
I've never seen a 40 something in the 40-yard range fall short from an NFL kicker. Like, it was
one of the ugliest kicks I've ever seen, honestly.
After missing the extra point, which is why they lost. Like, man. So, to finish the NFC off here, we think, Rams. So, we think the 4 divisional winners stay the same. And then Rams, Panthers, Eagles.
That's what I think.
Okay, or the Vikings.
Rams,
maybe.
Eagles, Panthers, maybe.
Yeah, Eagles.
What does the Eagles' schedule look like? Saints, Giants, Jets, Washington, Giants, Washington. I mean, those are a lot of winnable games. I think the Eagles could really go on a run.
The Eagles play the Saints, and then they play nothing but divisional games and the Jets.
Yes,
they play 5 divisional games, and what the hell? Okay, well, I mean, if the Eagles can just sweep their divisional games, there you go.
Ian.
The NFC East chaos will maybe kill them, but
the Ravens play the Rams in Week 17.
Yeah, my friend. I'm keenly aware of that. That game is going to go one of 2 ways. Either Matthew Stafford is going to throw for 500 yards, and Wink Martindale is going to have to drive home in his own car instead of getting a flight home on the plane. I don't even know if that game's in Baltimore. I don't care.
It is.
Or, like, they're going to run for 250 yards with some random guy named, like, Michael Jones, who they picked up in Week 16 on the practice squad. And they're going to beat the Rams by, like, 17. Like that's the part of the Ravens season every single year where they either suddenly win a game by a lot of points or they get killed. And I don't know.
Of all the division leaders, who do you think has the biggest chance of imploding and not making the playoffs?
Well, other than the
both
Ravens.
Conferences.
I want to say the Chiefs in the AFC, but I am going to say the Baltimore Ravens in the AFC. because I mean, I don't know if they're good, and I think the other teams are good. Like, it's weird, right? Because I feel like they might lose some games, but also the division might not be as good as we think. Versus the Bills might finish the season like 10-7 or 11-6, but the Patriots are suddenly really good, and the Patriots win this, and the Patriots win the division, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's weird, but I'm gonna go with my hometown squad on that one in the AFC.
I would probably agree with you in the AFC. I feel like Kansas City has looked really bad though throughout games. So I mean, there's a chance, but I also feel like maybe this was a turnaround game, and now they'll just cruise on to the finish. In the NFC, it's harder to say because I feel like the Cardinals are out too far ahead, but also like could collapse the easiest, if that makes sense. But I feel like they'll still make the playoffs at this point, even if they do collapse.
I agree with you with the Cardinals, though. I think it's the Cardinals that I have the least confidence in out of those four teams. I don't know. One more bad Tom week, and then maybe we need to start talking about the Buccaneers.
I refuse to talk about the Buccaneers until they are out of the playoff picture.
Let's not talk about Tom, please.
Because the Panthers kind of, we were looking at that schedule, and that we're looking at that like, oh damn, they have to play the Bucks twice to end the season. Like that's going to be tough for them. There's a real situation where that's like, oh, we can win the division. All of a sudden.
That defense, if they play well against Tom, I mean, it's possible.
I'm concerned about the Bucks defense. I honestly am.
Is Vita Vea okay? He got injured, right, at the end of the game? Or am I misremembering?
I think he got hurt. Also, there was like a weird series in that game where Vita Vea was playing spy, and in my head I'm just like, guys, why do we have maybe the best interior lineman outside of Aaron Donald playing spy?
Well, would you run as a quarterback if Vita Vea was spying you?
No!
That's the question, isn't it?
Why are you wasting him there?
Haloti Ngata won the Ravens that Super Bowl because he destroyed Colin Kaepernick on a designed run, and then Kaepernick like never scrambled out of the pocket again the rest of the game.
Maybe that's what they were hoping.
I mean, I don't think that's what they were hoping, but I just wanted to talk about Haloti Ngata.
Heinicke's a menace. You got to keep him contained.
True.
Man, do we think, like, is there a world where the Cowboys do not win that division? Like,
their defense just looks so good. Like compared to last year, I don't know what the weak point would be other than them playing like they did against the Broncos for no apparent reason that in like 3 games down the stretch.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? As I'm looking at this, as soon as I said that, the Eagles are 3.5 games back of the Cowboys. So even though they play them once, so that's a game, the Cowboys would have to the Eagles would basically have to not lose another game, and the Cowboys would have to lose quite a few. So I think the Cowboys are pretty much.
That game against Kansas City should be a banger.
Well, if the Kansas City plays well.
But that'll answer more questions if they don't, I guess.
It's the Cardinals and then the Bucks, I think. If only because those two teams have teams that can like the Rams are only a game back. The Panthers and the Saints are only like a game or 2 back.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Cowboys I would put the Cowboys as my most lock, and then the Packers, only because the Vikings have 2 games against them. So hypothetically, things could get wacky, but I'm not really worried about them.
The Cowboys are just too far ahead, and I think they have 4 more games against NFC East?
I mean, given how that divisional schedule looks, I guess.
Let's see. They play.
Question is, how many of those games are going to be prime time to end the season?
All of them. Every single one. I love it.
Must have the Cowboys on primetime. They play the Chiefs, the Raiders, the Saints, Washington, New York, Washington,
It is
Arizona,
bizarre,
and then
for
Philly.
sure.
I need the Raiders to go away.
They're going away. Don't
Well,
worry.
they're
blasting off again.
Yeah.
Who do the Raiders play? They have tough games too, I think.
Well, they have to play the Chiefs again, so maybe Deshaun Watson will.
Cincinnati, Dallas, Washington, Kansas City, Cleveland, Denver. I mean, there's no free game here. Maybe Washington.
Not a lot of free games in the AFC, though. That's the thing. I think the AFC will start figuring itself out in the next couple weeks because everybody starts playing everybody else. I think everybody's been banging up on the Vikings, kind of on the Vikings actually, but on the Jaguars and the Jets and the Dolphins and the Texans, and now suddenly, like, I think the Colts play the Bills this week and the Raiders play the Bengals, so we'll start figuring some stuff out soon.
Dude, I'm excited for the rest of the season. We're gonna get half of our wins in the next few weeks because we play Texas and we play Jacksonville.
Who's your biggest surprise in the NFC?
Surprise.
The Cowboys, probably.
Probably
the Cowboys.
I mean, the Cardinals are still very surprising to me.
Yeah.
It's good, at least on defense.
I think the Cardinals are probably mine because I feel like, I mean, I've always had faith in the Cowboys, even though it was wrong last year. I always felt like they were the true team out of that NFC East bunch. So I kind of expected them maybe not to be this good, especially on defense, but the Cardinals I thought would be good and like in the hunt, but I didn't expect them to be 8-2 leading the West, like 4 games ahead of everyone other than, the Rams.
Yeah, I actually do agree with you on that. I felt like the season that the 49ers have had, I don't want to include the Seahawks because Russ got hurt, but like the season the 49ers have had, I thought that was what the Cardinals were going to do this season. Be kind of, because again, I guess it's the theme. I don't think Kyle Shanahan's a good head coach. I also am not convinced that Cliff Kingsbury is a good head coach yet either, but he has done more this season to convince me a little bit.
That game without Kyler and DeAndre Hopkins, bro, Cliff Kingsbury is a genius. That's my impression now.
Yeah, but then they looked terrible against the Panthers. So
They did, but watching
Colt McCoy
run like fucking read options.
That was the week of backup quarterbacks.
And James Conner ran all over. That was a wild game.
Okay, so I want to talk about college football, but we're going to wait a minute. We're going to look ahead to what week is it? What week is this, ESPN? Why are you not telling me what week week 11. There it is.
Oh boy, our first ESPN mention.
Sponsor me. Looking ahead to the schedule this week, what is your most anticipated game this weekend? And which game do you think will be the wackiest of the week? Like the Bills-Jags game last week, or I guess most of the games the last couple weeks, honestly.
I already mentioned it, but I do think that Dallas-Kansas City game should be a banger. And for wacky game, I could definitely see your boy Danny Dimes keeping it close Monday night in the primetime chaos game against Tom Brady. So,
and then they'll lose because the Giants refuse to win games. For me, I definitely think Dallas, Kansas City is probably the right choice there. I think Raiders, Bengals might be a banger. And then looking at it, like, that Packers-Vikings game is going to be so stupid. Something so incredibly dumb is going to happen during that game, and I can't wait to see what it is.
Can we get 6 missed field goals in the fourth quarter?
Like I cannot wait for that game to happen. It's going to be incredible.
I mean, like you guys said, the game that should be really good is Dallas at Kansas City, but who knows? Kansas City might disappear again for another week. Dallas's defense might disappear again for another week. Who knows? And then, oh boy, Sunday Night Football, guys. Pittsburgh
I was looking at this one too.
at the Chargers. I'm kind of sad Ben isn't playing because it would have been amazing to see Ben and then comparing him to Justin Herbert on the other side. Would have been fabulous.
If the Chargers lose this game, two things. The Steelers are going to zombie make the playoffs, and the Chargers are not. Basically, the Chargers need to win this game.
Yeah, it is a very important one for the AFC playoff race.
And if the Detroit Lions can come through for me back-to-back weeks,
oh boy,
all of a sudden, even though you lose to Miami, you could still be up 2 games in the division. Chargers and Lions, you want to come through?
I feel like Baker's the type of dude who just suddenly shows up against a bad team like Detroit.
And then gets, he's going to get big hype.
Yeah, and then get destroyed the following week.
That's part of the Baker cycle, You beat the bad team, get hype, and then disappoint against a real opponent.
Do you guys want to go to the Jets-Dolphins game? Tickets are as low as $22.
Oh, God.
22, I wish, man.
Will I be watching legend Mike White or Zach Wilson in this game?
Hopefully Zach. Hopefully he's healthy and just get... Mike's time is over.
His second of stardom is over, unfortunately.
Don't worry, Mike. Your jersey is in the Hall of Fame, and you will always be one of the greatest trivia answers of all time.
So let's go through these games real quick and pick them. I think that would be a fun thing. We can keep track. And we're starting late. We're starting halfway through the season, but we'll see who. Because then I'll actually remember to do pick them this way every week. So Thursday night, no spread, no just who you think's gonna win. Patriots at the Falcons.
I'm gonna go with New England. I think that they will win, and I know we're not doing the spread, but I think they will cover the 7 points. Atlanta, I mean, they've looked decent against some not so good teams, and I do think the Patriots monster is back, and they're just gonna roll this game.
I will regrettably pick the Patriots, although I am extremely upset that we said this during the draft. We somehow let Bill Belichick get Mac Jones, and yeah. Good luck
Well, I mean, it's not your team's fault. It's not my team's fault. It's like the Miami Dolphins' fault for having a weird quarterback situation. I don't even know who else could have drafted Mac Jones. Because I think Fields would have been just as good with Bill Belichick. So
yeah, the Panthers kind of threw a wrench into everything.
It would have been the Panthers.
And they decided not to draft either one.
Okay, so I also think the Patriots are going to win that game. So we're all on the Patriots there Thursday night, as much as I will be rooting for Matthew Ryan to get his revenge.
Oh, for sure.
But, I think New England's good. Then our early slate... Oh, it's one of those weird weeks where there's 8 early games and 3 late games, and Scott Hansen is spending his entire time in the afternoon being like, well, we're at commercial break again. So why don't we look at the highlights from earlier today?
We just get to see literally every play because it's 2 games that are live.
Okay, let's try to, lightning round these here real quick. Colts at the Bills. I'm going to take the Bills. I just think the Bills are going to give Carson Wentz some fits the entire game.
Bills.
Oh, this game that I almost went to, Ravens at the Bears.
You still have time, Ian.
It's too expensive. I would, if it was under $100, I might have gone, but no.
Please let it be the Ravens. I sense the chaos, but
I can't see after a week where they're getting so much crap talked about them. They lose to
yeah, I
Bears.
can't imagine they'll back to back. Right? They should. It should be the bounce back game.
I agree with you. Tentatively, they should win this game. If they don't, we're going full panic mode next week.
Nice.
And they need to win this game handily. They need to not win this game 19-17 on a last-second Justin Tucker field goal after Justin Fields fumbles the ball on a kneel down at the 30-yard line or something. We need to just win this game, please. God. Okay, Lions at the Browns.
Bounce.
I want to take the Lions. I'm not going to take the Browns.
I want to take the Lions because they're running out of chances here. But I can't. I just can't. Okay.
I won't be surprised if the Lions win, but I'm not going to pick them to win the game. Is how I feel about this football game.
I will be surprised if the Lions win.
Texans, Titans. Are we all going Titans here?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
pretty much. Yeah.
Maybe the Titans will have their "we're bad" game, but I don't know.
They might be due for one.
So we'll see. Packers at Minnesota. This is the first game I think we're going to differ on because I'm taking the Vikings here to win this game.
I'm definitely taking the Packers. This is probably the best our defense has looked going against the Vikings offense. So I feel like we should cover and we should win. But, who knows with the NFC North.
I fully expect Dalvin Cook to run for 200 yards, but then Minnesota somehow lose because Kirk Cousins does something dumb, so I'll take Green Bay.
This just feels like to me the game where the Vikings won last week. They beat the Chargers. We beat the Packers. We're back in the divisional race. We're back in the wild card spot, and they come out against the 49ers next the week after, and they just get destroyed. And it's what's going on? So that's my narrative. But again, I won't be surprised if the Packers just come out and beat them. Okay, America's game of the week. Dolphins, Jets.
Oh, God.
Give me the Jets,
I'm also taking the Jets. It's all about the Jets, baby.
The Dolphins, they're riding high off their big win, and that they better enjoy it now because I think they're going to just throw it away.
Hear me out. Here's what's going to happen, boys. Hear me out. Zach Wilson, in his return, puts on the cape, carries the Jets to a 10-point victory. We get 2 interceptions because Tua doesn't know what the hell he's doing. They put in Tua, they take Tua out. They put in Brissett, they took Brissett out.
Let's go. All on the Jets. Jets. Jets.
Jets.
Saints at Eagles.
Well, we already talked about it. I think the Eagles are on the rise, and I think the Saints are on the fall. I hate to say it, but go Birds.
I think I'm going to take the Birds as well.
Saints' front defense is really good, though. So
I really want to take New Orleans. I'll take New Orleans just to be different.
Washington at Carolina. This game, I have no idea because the Panthers looked great against Colt McCoy. So I want to take them. Game's at home. It's Cam's homecoming. Okay, yeah, I'll take the Panthers. I'll take the Panthers in this game.
It's a good choice. It's always the Panthers.
I want to take Washington, but I just can't because of the Cam home game thing. No,
that's how I feel too.
I'm back.
Oh God.
And then the end of the early slate, 49ers at the Jaguars.
I was thinking very differently about this game until last night. I definitely thought it would be something that could be close. Maybe it still could be. I think I'm just going to go with the 49ers, though.
I'm going to take the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Ooh.
Okay.
Not because I'm like very confident here, but West Coast team played on Monday night, coming off a big win. Going to Florida. Weird things happen when you go to Florida on
This is true.
short rest.
This is Ian's Kyle Shanahan is bad influence here. You know what? This is a Trevor come out game. I take Jacksonville.
Oh wow, two of us on Jacksonville. And then Bengals at the Raiders. I'm taking the Bengals because that would probably make me angrier of the two situations here. So I'm going to take the Bengals.
I, too, will take the Bengals.
I will take the Raiders.
The Raiders.
See, that game could go either way because, there's a narrative either way. It's either the Bengals are in a free fall or the Raiders are in a free fall. One of those two teams is going to lose, and it'll be their third straight loss. And one of those two teams will stop their losing streak. So, anything can happen there.
Could be a good sign of things to come for both those teams, too.
Dallas at Kansas City. I'm taking the Dallas Cowboys. As much as Kansas City appears to be back, I still think the Cowboys are one of the better teams in the NFL right now.
I'm going to be hardcore rooting for Mike McCarthy and the Dallas Cowboys, but I do think Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs are going to win that game.
I'll take Dallas.
So we got 2 on Dallas and 1 on Kansas City. And then Arizona at Seattle. Do we know, is Kyler going to play?
I think so. He was game time this week, and I'm pretty sure most of the reason they held DeAndre and him out was to rest up for this game. So I'm pretty sure Kyler's going to be playing, as well as DeAndre Hopkins.
Well, despite all that, I'm still taking the Seattle Seahawks here. It's in Seattle. Taking the Seahawks.
I, too, am going to take the Seahawks. Russ did not get his proper comeback game in Lambeau, where he fails so often. I think this is his chance.
Hear me out. One of the greatest healers of our time needs another week to get back. So I'll take Arizona.
What a setup. What a setup
assuming Kyler plays.
And then actually, I take it back. My game of the week, Pittsburgh at the Chargers. I'm taking the Chargers, but I really think the Steelers could win this game in a very, very just deranged fashion.
There's no way.
I'll take the Chargers, too. They can't lose back-to-backs here against Vikings Steelers if they want to be a contender.
I just feel like the Steelers kind of showed against the Bears that you can kind of take the top off that defense a little bit, and I feel like, Mike Williams might be running open in the secondary.
Hold on to the ball.
Yeah, well.
I'm also taking the Chargers.
And then New York at Tampa Bay. I like missing games, so I'm taking Danny Dimes.
Oh no!
So here's what's gonna happen. They're gonna win that game. 3 straight losses for Tampa Bay. Oh, Tom's washed. The sky is falling. It's all falling apart. And he's going to Super Bowl again.
It's 8 p.m. on Monday night. It's Tom's sleepy time. He's going to be too tired. The Giants win a stunner in Monday Night Football.
I can't. I can't pick the Giants. I just can't. I'll take Tampa Bay.
No, we'll see how we look after our first week of picks here. That's about it for the NFL. We're running at around 90 minutes here, so we can probably do a quick other sport roundup here if you guys want before we say goodbye and end our first ever pilot podcast of no preparation. We talked a pretty long time for having no preparation.
I am a slave to the NFL, so
quickly, to not change sports, but to change leagues. I don't know. I guess it is a different sport. You guys have anything you want to talk about in college football at all?
Praise Cincinnati. Give them their spot. Put them in.
Do we think do we all agree that Georgia's probably the best team in the nation, and it's not particularly close.
Yes, I would say that's an accurate statement.
They probably have like 4 first-rounders in on defense.
So what playoff do you guys want to see? Because for me, I want Georgia, Oregon, and Cincinnati, and then I think Michigan, because it would be funny. Ohio State's definitely like a team that would be better in that situation. But in terms of like funny, I think like Georgia, Cincinnati, and like Oregon, Michigan would be a fun time.
I would say all of those, but Ohio State instead of Michigan.
I kind of like the idea of somehow Cincinnati makes it in and somehow beats someone. That'd be great.
Well, all we need is if Cincinnati wins out and Georgia beats Alabama, they're going to put Cincinnati in.
You think so?
I mean, Cincinnati's at 5 and Alabama is at, like, it would be crooked, which again, it's the college football, so, what am I talking about? But it would be literally insane to put a 2-loss Alabama in over an undefeated Cincinnati. Like, yeah, they can he and haw and go 1-loss Alabama, whatever, but like that would be ridiculous.
I just feel like they have no idea what they're doing, and just because it's Alabama, they'll keep them in.
Why is nobody talking about the Roadrunners?
Are they even? Where are they ranked? Where are they ranked? Oh, they're at 23.
Come on.
So they'll get to play like a mediocre like SEC team in a bowl game, and they'll beat them by like 20. Notre Dame, I think it would be funny if Notre Dame made the playoff, but I think there are too many teams ahead of them. Although Michigan State hasn't played Ohio State yet, so I mean, Michigan State loses to Ohio State, or no, Michigan State beats, because then that would get Michigan State back. I'm trying to think the situation here. If Cincinnati loses and Oregon loses, and then the Big Ten cannibalizes itself, all of a sudden Notre Dame's in the playoff, and that would be incredibly funny.
That's the dream.
Like Notre Dame, Wake Forest.
Oh no.
So Oregon plays Utah and Oregon State, which, I mean, who knows what could happen.
They could lose that Utah game.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. The SEC, the Pac-12 is just like cursed. I'm amazed Oregon even recovered from their loss and like got back into the top 3.
Oregon sucks. Just get back to me during draft season. Cave on, Thibodeau.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait till we get like to the off season and like we can just have this entire podcast be Emmanuel's mock draft showcase. That's what I want. I thought I had more like opinions about college football, but I guess because Northwestern's bad, I'm just kind of like, I don't know. Georgia good. Everyone else is not good.
Sounds about right.
I hope the Ravens draft a defensive back. That's like my thoughts at this point in time. You think the Packers are going to draft a wide receiver?
Nope. Will Aaron be there? If Aaron's there, then no. If Aaron's not there,
then yes.
Then
Take one
potentially.
just to spite him.
This Jordan Love's gonna need somebody.
And then to wrap up our day here, do either of you have anything you want to talk about the NBA wise?
DeMar DeRozan is my king. Good night to the Lakers. Bulls are going to the playoffs. Bulls are going to win the whole thing. Go Bulls.
Damn. Man's planting his flag early.
The Knicks are just like... The Knicks, I don't understand the Knicks right now.
Hey, we won last night.
Because the bench is good, and the starters are terrible, and it makes no sense.
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with the starting lineup, dude. It's just they refuse to play well together.
Like, they have 2 wins over the 76ers. They have a win over the Bucks. They have a win over the Celtics. And they have a win over the Bulls. And then also they just, like, lost to the Magic. And it just makes no sense. They're just, like, randomly bad all the time.
Down the line, though, if I could go see a Bulls Hornets playoff game in person, that would be really cool. So that's really all I'm hoping for out of this season. Make that happen somehow.
It's gonna be okay.
The Wizards, man. The Wizards are the 1 seed right now.
How?
That's what I said earlier. Like, what?
I don't know. Maybe you leave the Lakers and you suddenly become good. Or you lose Russell Westbrook and you suddenly become good.
It's the opposite of the Mets curse. Okay. You go to the Mets and you're bad, apparently. So.
Yeah, the NBA. I feel like the NBA is. I never really can follow the NBA too closely until football season's over. Like, I follow it, but
It's a lot of games.
there's just so many games during this point in time that, like, don't really matter at the end of the day. But everybody's just trying to figure out what their identity is and who's good, who's not. The Nets are just kind of hanging out without Kyrie. They're still, like, there near the 1 seed.
They're gonna be like middle of the pack, and then middle of the season. Oh God, here comes Kyrie with his cape on.
I hope they're like the 1 seed and then Kyrie comes back and they lose a bunch of games.
That would be the best
It would
time.
be so funny. Warriors are good. The Suns are still good. Like the West will be fun. All those teams.
Steph Curry, baby.
Yeah, man. Do you want to talk about the Yankees offseason at all while we're here before we wrap up?
I mean, they're probably gonna sign one of the top shortstops, which they have to because this whole experiment of having Torres play shortstop was a disaster. I'm glad they kept the manager because apparently all the fans wanted him gone, but all the fans are always right, aren't they?
Yankee fans notoriously very like smart and well.
For sure, dude. We're geniuses.
Well-intentioned.
We're geniuses. If you don't win the World Series, you suck. So, even though you have one of the best records in the past 4 years, but yeah, it doesn't matter. They'll probably sign one of the top shortstops. They'll sign some older pitcher who's like a big name but it's old now for like 1 year, and they'll get a new first baseman. Either they'll trade for one or sign one, and that's going to be the offseason.
Well, I just hope the Orioles are okay. And that's all I care about next season. Last thing I want to talk about is shout out to the United States men's national team for beating Mexico 2-0.
They are currently tied 1-1 with Jamaica.
Are they
Tim Way
playing right now?
They're playing right now. Yes,
Oh.
Tim Way has scored the first goal, but Jamaica they're tied, which you hate to see.
Tim is their best player.
He might
now convinced after watching that game against Mexico where he was playing out of his mind and like Ricardo Pepe was like, I'm not going to go run for that ball in the box.
I've been saying for a long time that they need to play Tim. And they finally did. So
We'll check back in that as the qualifiers go on. Hopefully they qualify for the World Cup this time. That would be nice, perhaps.
Big win in the process of doing that against Mexico.
Yeah, they're
but
probably fine, but
it's those away games that are tough. I mean, there's not even fans in this Jamaican game, so I feel like they could probably be winning this one. But
I just want to say one thing. I was thoroughly confused about the whole mirror thing because I don't watch soccer. And then when I thought it was a JoJo's reference, I 100% thought it was a JoJo's reference.
Man in the mirror.
Yeah, I thought it was a JoJo's reference.
Yeah, that was because Mexico's goalie basically said that the United States, like Mexico's team is, what was the quote? It was Mexico is the like basically, oh my God, now I'm good, can't remember the quote, but basically that like the United States looks in the mirror and wants to be Mexico.
Okay.
I forgot the way he phrased it. And then
Something like that.
Okay.
obviously
Makes sense.
Pulisic brought that on his shirt and he scored.
So he was not summoning a stand. Okay, got it.
No, he was not making a JoJo's Part 5 reference, unfortunately. Okay, do you guys have anything else you want to touch on before we say goodbye here?
Oh, sounds about great.
Everything.
All right, well, we'll check in how we did on Pick'em next week. We'll check in as the season progresses on what we thought at midseason about these NFL teams. And hopefully the Ravens don't lose to the Bears this week. That's all I care about. Thank you guys for listening to the pilot episode 1 for now. Maybe we'll do this episode 0, but we'll figure that out afterwards, of No Preparation, a brand new podcast that is about all sports, but we're probably going to talk about football most of the time this fall. This is on YouTube right now, so subscribe. If you're listening to this later on a app of some sort, potentially Spotify, follow, do all that stuff. Check us out on Twitter at NoPrepPod, and I'll leave the socials for the three of us all in the description below. So thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you again next week.